Good afternoon, David. Well, earlier on I was at training. It did look like you've got your whole squad available for tomorrow's game, but can you just confirm if you've got any injuries?
No, we've got everybody available, everybody fit and ready to play, so looking forward to it.
We believe Edson Alvarez is suspended for tomorrow's match.
Correct, that's right.
I just wanted to ask, he obviously came off against Man City. I think the fans were very worried, but of course he has been training today. I just wondered, how big a boost is it that he hasn't suffered anything serious, given just how late he came back from America?
I don't think anybody thought he had any injury. I think he's still getting used to the 90 minutes in the Premier League and what's entailed in it. He's probably had that in a few games where he's been fatigued late on, and he was at the weekend, but he also had got booked early in the game, which also was on my mind as well, that I had to be careful of it. So yeah, but he's fine. He's fit and healthy and all well.
We saw Mohammad Kudus out there training today. He hasn't yet made his first West Ham start. What have you seen from him in training? I mean, what have you made of his performances in training so far?
I like what I see. I think he looks a really good player, and from what we've seen before, that's why we bought him. And hopefully he'll get an opportunity to show what he can do over the next few weeks. But we've got to give some of them time to settle in. Thankfully, Edson and James Ward-Prowse have settled in really, really quickly. And Mo's just been a little bit late right at the end of the window, really, when we got Mo in. So we've got to try and give him a little bit of time. Don't expect too much from him too soon.
Thomas was just in here and he said he feels that West Ham, given the Europa Conference League win last season, are now thought of as one of the favourites to win the Europa League this season. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you need to look at the teams in the Europa League. I think the European competitions have got tougher. I think so many teams who are regular Champions League teams have found themselves in the Europa League, and quite a lot of teams who are in the Europa League have found themselves in the Conference League. So I think the strength of the European football is really, really strong. I think that obviously the Champions League is always the one you want to be recognised for, but I think it's great that we've got the Europa League. We're thrilled that we're in it again, 2 years out of 3 now. And I do believe that the competition's got tougher than when we were in it 2 years ago.
Thanks, David.
Hi, David. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Just moving on from that, I mean, obviously you've got Liverpool, Brighton, Rangers in this competition. It's not going to be as easy as 2 years ago where you got to the semi-final. Not that was particularly easy.
No, I agree. I think as I said earlier, the European competitions, I believe, have got tougher. For example, to have Liverpool and Brighton out the Premier League in a competition you're in, and you can see the form that Brighton are in and the history what Liverpool have had in European football over many years. It gives you, just talking about the British teams, never mind the teams what are from other countries. And you've also got to remember that we're waiting on whoever finishes third in the group for the Champions League drops back into this competition as well. So, I mean, in any way to be talking about who could be favourite, etc., is not really worthwhile, because until we see the teams who drop down and the teams who qualify, it's very, very difficult to work out.
Over the past 2 years, you've taken Europe, in inverted commas, very seriously. You played strong teams, you won every single game to make sure you top your group, and you miss out on that qualifying tie. This week you play 3 games in a week. Do you prioritise the game tomorrow, or do you prioritise Liverpool, or do you prioritise Lincoln, or how do you think about how you're going to get the makeup of your team right for all 3 games?
Well, the first and foremost will always be the Premier League, will always be the most important thing, to try and make sure that you're always a Premier League club, because that's roughly where most of the money is comes from. But Europe's been so good, and Europe is probably, if I was going to put it in financial terms, is the most important competition after the Premier League, really. How well you can do in Europe, how far you can go. So from that point of view, obviously we want to target both. So the balance of that, being a club that plays on a Thursday and a Sunday, probably is never easy. The Thursday-Sunday games for whatever reason. But over the last 2 seasons we've done it quite well. A final and a semi-final the year before that. So we'll try and get the balance right. Always the most important game's the next one in my eyes. You're always trying to win the next game. The next game's on Thursday night, and we'll try and do that.
Finally, from me, we saw last night after Newcastle's draw in Milan, which on paper looks a great result, and yet the manager Eddie Howe has to come in and defend the way his team played because people thought they were lucky and they weren't attacking enough. Firstly, does that happen to you? And secondly, do you actually care what we think about how your team plays?
Yeah, we do care. We want our teams to be exciting. We want them to be, to play well. But ultimately, we want to win and we want to get good results. And I think it would be more naive of MD who thought that result that Newcastle got at Milan was a bad one. I would say that the people who were talking in those terms were the ones who had less understanding of the game.
Hi, David. Last year, the Conference League was used really as a momentum builder because the league wasn't going as well. You've started the league very well this year. Do you think you can almost maybe enjoy this group stage a bit more because you're not having to win games to prove and to kind of counter the poor league form?
Yeah, I get the point. If you remember last year, we had qualifiers last year. You have to remember we had a qualifier before we could even get into the group stage. So that in itself, and those games we were winning, which kept us just feeling okay. We weren't getting too low because of some of the Premier League results. But we've got off to a great start. We've got a squad who's fully fit. All the players looking to go. I want to keep them all challenging each other, pushing each other for the positions. So I think it'll be a great opportunity for a few of the players to show exactly what they can do. And we're going to try and compete again and go for it again if we can. We want to be in Europe again. To be in a semi-final and a final 2 years in a row is a big thing in Europe. And I'm going to attempt to try and do it again if we can do.
And you've got a fully fit squad, as you said. Has it been quite a shock to have that, just because last season was such a tough start with injuries, and to how are you going to balance this squad? Is it probably going to be a lot harder than last season because you have to think about how you do that?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think we've probably got more players of a certain quality. Where we're saying we've got more competition for places. But it's great that everybody's fit because it means that everybody's looking forward to playing. They have to show what they can do. Their opportunities will come for them in games, and we're going to need it because we're in a really tough set of games again. And I know I probably said that in the first group of games, but as you know, when you've got Man City and Liverpool back to back Saturdays or whatever days it is, that makes that a really tough set of fixtures. So we want to play well. We want to try and get off to a good start in the group if we can. But we certainly won't be taking anything for granted, and we won't be seeing it anything other than a really tough fixture and one that we're going to have to play well to win.
Have you done anything differently in this pre-season, just in terms of medically and keeping players fit, or was last year just a bit of a freak kind of year with injuries?
Well, I think the opening part of the season, I actually think if you looked at our injury record over probably 3 years, it's been fantastic. But the start of last season was different. Start of last season, we didn't get. Kurt was injured. We lost Agard in the friendly at Rangers. That bad weather we're talking about. We lost it. Agard at Rangers. We were really short. We had Doss wasn't quite ready at the time, and Issa was looking to leave. So we had a real problem with central defenders at the time, and it certainly affected us at the start of last season.
Hi, David. Tomas Soucek was saying in here a few minutes ago that he thinks this is arguably the strongest squad that West Ham have had in his time at the club, and therefore in your time as well. Yeah. I'm reminded of I think it was Eric Torsfett who said when Tottenham sold Gareth Bale, he said we've sold Elvis but signed the Beatles with the 5 or 6 players they brought in. I'm not suggesting there's a direct comparison after you've lost Declan, who's a hell of a player, but in the long term, do you think he might be right? And secondly, is Europe a very good stage for the players who've come in to show they are collectively the equal of sort of Declan, if you like, in value?
Well, let's not forget what Declan gave us last year in winning a final. That's the thing that you mustn't take away. He was part of a team which was hugely successful. He was the captain of the team as well, so scored some amazing goals in Europe for Declan last year. Some of the goals were brilliant. So but I think we've tried to maybe build a stronger whole round group. I think, as I mentioned to there earlier, I think the competition's good. I think we've got competition for places. we want to keep that strong. The players are in a confident frame of mind at the moment. We want to keep that going as well, which comes from playing well in victories. And yeah, we're looking forward to trying to have more of the ball. That's what we're planning to do, try and get more of the ball in the games. But while we can't, then we're going to try and make sure that we're really hard to beat and continue trying to win games, no matter by hook or by crook how that happens.
And just secondly for me, I think you said after the Chelsea game that you regard yourself as having two number ones now with Fabianski and Areola. Last season, Areola played in Europe. Is it the plan to give Fab a go tomorrow night to keep his hand in?
Lucas Fabianski will play tomorrow night, and Lucas has been a brilliant goalkeeper, and as I said at the time, has done very little wrong to be out the side, but we felt that I had to make a decision. I brought Fons here a while ago and sort of said that he would eventually move in front of Lucas. Lucas' form has been so good for the last few years. It's been hard to do that, but we made that decision, and that's it. So Lucas, will be in goal tomorrow night.
Thank you.
Hi David. Backa Topola, I'll confess I don't know too much about them, but as the opposing manager, does that make it more difficult for you guys when you're going up against someone that's lesser known than a Olympiacos or a Florida?
Yeah, it does to an extent, because it's actually a bit harder to get footage off them and a bit harder to get levels of games which you could maybe compare and give yourself an idea of the standard. But look, they're a side who've had a very good record. I think they've done well at the start of this season as well, and we'll try and get as much information as we possibly can and give the players that, which we have done. But you're right in saying that it's not an easy thing to do, is to get all the information on a team from Serbia. But our job to do so, and we're looking forward to playing them and looking forward to going there as well.
I was going to say, because I think Thomas mentioned that the sort of players are getting sent individual footage to study. It's almost like giving them homework so that there's no surprises. Is that normal? Yeah,
it's normal for us. We try to. I think it's different when you're playing. We play Liverpool at the weekend. Of course, most of the Liverpool team, but I think when you're playing teams from Europe who maybe you're not seeing the players, you maybe don't know them. You don't know them maybe from international games or etc. I think we're trying to give the players as much information and detail on them as possible.
And it's a weird one. I don't want to get you in trouble by talking about the referee, but do you have to study the referees as well? Because we've had a few different. From watching you in Europe over the last few years, they have different styles
Very much so.
And you have to study them as well.
Yeah, it's something which we've had to come accustomed to. We talk a lot about the tolerance levels with the referees. We don't know what. We roughly have an idea of what in the Premier League what we're going to get. When sometimes quite often we say we don't know what we're going to get, but you've got an idea normally on the tolerance levels on challenges, etc., etc. You're not sure at all, and things which we think, that's just a yellow. You might find that the overseas referees are given red cards for that in their countries and would continue to do that. So it is every game is a little bit of a minefield with trying to think about the levels of the referees and what you might have to deal with, but it's also a challenge as well. And I think we said that, I think after the semi-final at Frankfurt, I'd said I think hopefully we've all learned a little bit about it, how we keep our emotions in place. But in both games, I think we had players sent off just about in both games, didn't we? Certainly in the first game, Krezi went off, did he? Was it the first game? Second game as well? No, just the first game? No, second game. Yeah. So they were things which you have to try and learn, and in the main we done it mostly pretty well last season.
David, another question on Backa Topola. I mean, you mentioned there that it's difficult sometimes to seek out footage of these sorts of teams. Typically in Serbia there are two large teams from the capital, Red Star Belgrade
and Partizan
Belgrade. Yeah, they came second last season, Backa Topola, and I think they're top of the league on their last 5. It's a compliment to them really that you're even having to seek out footage of them, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's also a compliment to them that they've got themselves in this situation. And look, we've watched, they played Braga in the Champions League qualifier. We've watched both the games of that, which would give us a better idea maybe of the levels, which I'm saying some of the games maybe internally might not give us the best idea of what we're up against, but certainly the games against Braga gave us an idea. But you're right, they've started the season really well, and they're to be in the position they've been in is very good.
Might have to speak up a little bit for this second question.
You're all going to get soaked. Yeah.
Obviously, excellent start to the Premier League season for your team, which wasn't the case last season when you had the Europa Conference League. Two of the wins in particular, Chelsea and Brighton, it's fair to say that the opponents in those games were the teams that dominate in possession. That might be a bit different in this competition. So is there a case potentially that this competition isn't just a new tournament for you, it's also a new challenge as well, tactically?
Yeah, I think tactically we've done a pretty good job over 2 years. 2 years ago we got to semi-final and lost in the semi-final against this competition. Last year we were in the conference and one down from it, and tactically we've done very well. I've got to say we found some of the teams incredibly good, very good with the ball. The Danish teams were excellent, I have to say, and as we went along with the Dutch team, which was excellent in the semi-final, and then we end up with an Italian team in the final. So I think we've ended up finding ourselves coming through all those challenges pretty well over the last few years. So hopefully we'll gain a little bit of experience from it. But I think every time you enter this competition, it's a challenge. There's a lot of good things to see.
Particularly in the group stage, like potentially dominating possession more than you maybe would in the Premier League.
Yeah, we may do. I think we've got some tough opponents in Freiburg and Olympiacos as well. But yeah, I'm hoping that there'll be parts of the game we'll get a lot more possession, and going forward in the Premier League, that's what we're hoping to do as well. But I would give it up if I was going to keep getting the results I was getting, that's for sure.
Okay, best of luck.
Thank you.
David, would it be fair to say you have a selection headache in defence, because you got Aguerd and Kazima performed a solid defensive partnership. Bono was great against Brian.
Yeah.
Panos is fully fit now.
Yeah. No, we have. It said competition, so you're right. We've got good competition. Angelo played really well at Brighton. And could have easily started. Naif came back and he's gone back into the side. So we've got competition. Dinos is just getting himself ready now and played for his national team last week. So good. Everybody fit's a great thing, and gives us an opportunity to see what we can do.
Since winning the Conference League, has life changed for you much? Do you get recognised a lot more now?
I wouldn't say I get recognised anymore, but I've got to say there's an inner glow about me, because I know that getting that victory means so much, and I'm pleased to have that, carry that with me now. I hope I can do it again. I really do. I want to try it again because of the magic feeling, the moment when it happened, the aftermath, what it meant to so many people in East End of London, and West Ham supporters in particular. So it was a great moment, and to be fortunate enough to win a European trophy is not something which happens every day.
Just reflecting on that night, how nice was it to do it in front of your dad and also your family as well?
Oh, magical, because you get a chance to. They've been to hundreds and hundreds of games where it's probably been I've been walking out a miserable bugger, not wanting to speak, not wanting to go out for a drink, not wanting to go for dinner, so. They are the lows of football as well, but then you get the bit what you notice is the highs of a win, and being able to happen to my family was there. You would expect probably at a final anyway, to be able to have them there, and part of it was magnificent, and really just to get the chance to get to a final and do that, because as I say, the job has an awful lot of lows through it and a lot of defeats in your career, and having to get up and go again after them, and your family as well. So great that they've supported me so well.
Last question for me. I know you get asked all the time, but is there any update on Lingard's situation?
Not really, no. We're keeping him training, and joined training today as well. So he's certainly getting much more like the Jesse, I think, in physical capabilities than he was when we got him in 4 weeks ago. Hi there.
Hi. Lola Hernandez, Fox Sport Mexico. Edson Alvarez is okay, it's suspended, but what do you think about his performance the last game, and what's Edson Alvarez giving to the team? Thank you.
His performance has been really good. I think we probably were weaker when he came off. He came off after about 70 minutes. But I think him getting used to the intensity of the Premier League, what's required, and I think he's found it in all the games. He's played really well in the games. He's helped us on the ball. He's helped us defensively. I think the bigger thing though is him getting used to having to do that for the 90 minutes has been tough. But I have to say, he also had a tough week last week. He was away with Mexico. He had 2 games for the national team. And he only got back Thursday afternoon about 3 o'clock. The time he got in, I think his flight was delayed coming back. So anybody who's been across to Mexico or the American side will tell you the jet lag coming back is really difficult for players to get ready and have ready. So the game being Saturday at 3 o'clock in some ways didn't help him, but he done a great job, and we certainly missed him when we went off. But he had already had a booking, and also he was cramping and fatiguing, so we always knew it was going to be difficult for him.
Okay, well, one at the back. Hi there.
Aye.
James Ward-Prowse was always going to be. James Ward-Prowse was always going to be a talisman for West Ham, but are you surprised just how well he's hit the ground running?
Was he always going to be?
Was he?
Yeah, I believe that he was going to be, and I always think that he will be. I think that he added things to Southampton which were terrific, whether it be scoring goals, whether it be making goals. So I hope that if we could transfer that from there to us, then it would give us some options as well. Can play several different roles in midfield for us. I think he's just been a good steady signing at the moment. Getting his goals is helping, getting his assists, because there's a bit when you sign them, you're saying maybe will we get them here? Well, I always thought that we've been a side who've been over the years not bad at set pieces. So if we could get a really, really top deliverer, then it would maybe make us even more potent. And he's also somebody, if we can get free kicks round the edge of the box. We've not been getting many at the moment, but if could get any, or he's added a couple of open play goals already, the one at Brighton and then the one at the weekend. So I have to say he's been a great sort of start to his West Ham career, and I hope we can continue the levels he's at.
And what do you think Mohammad Kudus can bring that's different to what you've already got at West Ham?
I think he brings a lot of what we've got, and it's adding to, I think, his ability on the ball, strength on the ball. He can score. We certainly can do that as well. So I'm hoping that we're bringing someone else who's going to make us play, improve on things, which I would like to do. But I don't want it to take away from what we've got, what our strengths are as well. I want him to add to it, and I think he will do. I think he's got so much ability, and he might just take a little bit more time than others. But if you look, it took me that last year to get Lucas Paqueta, Nathan Agard, took them all a little bit of time to get to the levels we hoped and they could get to.
Okay, can I just check, please? Man City parade or took the Champions League trophy onto the pitch before kick-off last night. Do you know if the plan is for West Ham to do the same, or?
We did that before the Chelsea game, didn't we? So.
Oh, of course, yeah. So I think we've once is enough.
Already. Yeah.
I might do it again.